how they can seem to be the same person, because that kind of a change is pretty thorough. It's kind of brings out the same purpose, and so the purpose is the same between all the major characters. And you get Noah and Moses, and there's a third story too. There are other stories that cross a distance to a new place to start over again. And I'm not sure if that's but that's what God does, in the effort that more people can be saved from it. Because if the previous path would have been kept, no one would have been saved, because there's just too many people and too many influences that keeps them from being saved. And the more people that you get out there, the more rules are applied, and the more rules that are applied, the less likely there is going to be salvation, because only with the morals that God gives men can there be the type of rules that are made that benefits man. Because if man were to just totally dictate what man does, then it becomes whatever. And when it becomes whatever, then there is no real moral structure there. Then you kind of get like a bunch of children running around with their heads cut off because they're all trying to get something done, and they don't care who they run over to get it. Like a bunch of candy, you know. And it's all about living life and not about what's coming next. It's about the now. It's about the money. And I'm not saying money's wrong. But it's all what you use it for. And everything that man does not need. There's a lot of things that man does not need. And people try to push that kind of their personal agendas to try to create jobs and stuff like that. I don't need somebody to have a job that I pay for. You know, things like that. Why can't you just let them create a business that does that? Okay, the rest of the path of righteousness, if you look at all the prophets and how it's gone, is that there's always prophets there that try to teach the path of righteousness. Some people need the world of hard knocks, and because of how they act, and other people don't. But, you know, you're talking about big fat groups of people, you know, with Noah and Moses, I guess it's the world of hard knocks. Because when you get a bunch of people together, you know, they're still remembering the old ways and all the rules that they were placed under, and that's what they act like. So, you know, and if you bring the people of Moses up to today, you know, you have there being a group of people that had similar kind of thing happen. So you still get they deserve more concept out of life than, that I have to pay for because they don't want to do anything. And I don't agree with that. But then there come because of these people that come forth, that God makes come out and redo things over and over and over. God gets reestablished in a new place, and there's always somebody that wants to take over, who thinks they need that power, and they'll try to put up some kind of a plan to take over. And that's just how life works. It's the repeats in history. Good thing we live in America. You have a harder time doing that. But when church got reestablished, it really does bring out the end times, because you can clearly see it throughout the prophets and what they talk about and how they're doing things. But the problem with some people that become that is that when they read it, they can see those things in it. So it's kind of hard it's like, what is it? Christ said, or I can't remember who said it in the Bible, but you have to lose yourself to save yourself, kind of thing. And that really brings new meaning to what God does to some people, because because if you really like that and you're reading the Bible and you can see the likeness in yourself with what you're reading, then it becomes a hard distinction between who is who, because of the parallels and the things remaining the same throughout history. God repeating himself. So that is a really hard one to get past, because if you're reading it and you can't see the difference between yourself and the things that you're reading, so you really have to ask yourself, who are you? And you can look at it and go, well, I'm not that one, and I'm not this one, and I'm not this one, but you read something and you go, I kind of fit the criteria of of this one, but there'll be aspects like within Moses or within Isaiah, within Elijah. I think Elijah was the hardest one to overcome. That one really kind of set in, and I know the others had the same problem. If there was anything written, it's better, I think that when God does that to somebody is that they don't read too much. I don't know if it was ever supposed to have been put into print, but I do know that each person keeps their own journal, a basic journal, and I think that's what wound up in the Bible, was those journals they kept. But to let you know what the main problems are when those transformations take place, that's what you have the hardest time with. And you can separate yourself from most of them, because you're not Christ. Obviously, you're not Christ. You're not Elijah. You're not this person or that person in there, and you can kind of rule it out, but you have a hard time because there are aspects with each one of them that has been placed within you to know. So, no, it's not delusion. It's not anything like that. It's actual gift, and it's one doozy of a gift, I should say. Because if you can get put in those Bible scenes and be made example, then it's I think a lot more than just personal revelation. Personal revelation does not do that to you. So, when you're looking at the path of righteousness and you're wanting to know what is what, making yourself, that's why they say, like in the scriptures, to yourself, because they know that that is an actual gift. And if you liken the scriptures to yourself, then you can put yourself in the place of a prophet. You won't be one, because that hasn't happened to you yet, but you can put yourself in that place. And it does help you out if you can do that. So the path of righteousness is being honest, is, to recap on it, is being prayerful, concerned about others. You're also praying for others' well-being. You're likening the scriptures to yourself. There was another one. I always do that. Lose my train of thought. Because I get to looking at something off in the distance, I guess. And then there's listening to people about what the truth actually is. You can believe all things, but, like I said, there's people out there that you are going to give you a hard time if you believe all things. But I think that is concerning God. Believe all things concerning God. And you get a lot of these people I've had experience with that you start telling them personal things, about who you are, what you are, and stuff like that. They think you're going to change them. They automatically go into this defense mode. And a lot of the Christians will pull out their Bible like it's the last word that God ever spoke. And it's more, when they're using it, and sure, I can't say that's a bad thing, but when you treat it like the last word that God ever spoke is not a good thing. It doesn't leave any more room for growth. You won't believe people when they come up and tell you that God did this and God did that, because you're going to be using that as the law. It's in writing. It even says that in the Bible. that you're going to use that as law. Even the New Testament now. And they won't go beyond the law. And even though it says it's by every word that comes out of God's mouth, it's not just what's in writing. So that's part of the process, is figuring out, is somebody telling the truth or not. Well, when it comes to God, you talk about God, you better be right. You know? And you can't misrepresent him. If you misrepresent him, you're not going to be what you're supposed to be. You know, and a lot of people, they don't realize that. They're so gung-ho that they want to learn that they'll get into the Bible and they get lost in the words. And it's about example, not words. I mean, sure, words help. It helps to know why they translated something a certain way, sure. But the Bible isn't the only source of information out there. So, as part of the path of righteousness is getting into the right group of people. And it's not the Bible, it's never in the Bible. The truth is never in the Bible. The truth is in people. And that's where a lot of people get it wrong. So when you're on the path of righteousness and you're actually actively seeking your salvation, and that is the path of righteousness. That's a true definition of the path of righteousness, is seeking your salvation. And that's first and foremost on the list. And it is considered a mission by God to do that. And God does help people on that mission. It's not a maybe or a what if. You have to have the right frame of mind to be on the path of righteousness. So if you're actively seeking your salvation, God will come in, he will help, and God loves to correct people. And the most outstanding thing that I've ever seen concerning God was the fact that he will correct you. And he doesn't normally come in just to give revelation. He comes in for a correction. So people won't see him or hear him much, if they ever do. So, and what all that does, all of what I said does, is it leads to the right people. And you can read books and you can pray your butt off and you can do this or that or whatever, but you'll never see unless God does something. And it makes it more clear. Because people, they receive things no matter where they are, and it's not because of any religion, it's for correction. And if that group of people they're in are not telling them the truth, more than likely they're telling them the opposite of the truth, because it's no longer governed by God. And some people can get that revelation and see it as the truth and see it as that group is correct. and it's no longer ruled by God. When it's no longer ruled by God. So, but when you find the right group and you get the best information from that group, and the group is making sense because you've rattled your brain out, and there's an important factor in looking for salvation, is you have the knowledge base of the other groups and what they're doing that's different than the Bible. And when you're saying what's different from what's in the Bible, then you're going to have a harder time coming up with, is this going to be my salvation or not? And you have to question it. And the importance of that is you gain a good knowledge base, and if God is there helping you out, which you want God there to help you out, you might wind up leaving that group to go to another group. But when you find the right group, you'll have a better understanding of what the truth actually is. And a lot of sorry about that. But when you find the true group, it'll occur to you that you're most likely in the true group. I mean, you can't spend your lifetime looking for salvation and not find it. If you're doing that and you haven't found it, then you're on the wrong path for the wrong reason. You know, it's not about living forever. It's not about any of that stuff. It's not about magic. It's not about, it's got to be your salvation. To be redeemed from this world. Is it really true? And there has to be a certain amount of active seeking. God won't take you seriously unless you're actively seeking it. So the help won't come. And then again, you got a lot of people out there that don't know to ask those questions, and they get stuck in the place that they're in, either being saved or seeking their salvation. They just believe, and that's it. So once you're within the group of people that you're supposed to be in, you have to know God has a lot of mercy. It's not that you're going to be a sinner and not do anything to help yourself. Not saying that there isn't a small chance that you won't be saved, but you really have to help yourself. This world is about helping yourself. If you don't have that clue yet, I don't know what to tell you. But being in the right group is really important. I mean, once you got it, you got it, and then you've pretty much achieved the other half of the path of righteousness. But that is the path of righteousness as I know it. That it's about seeking your salvation. It's about finding out if God is there and doing what you can for yourself to achieve that goal. And there's a lot of other people out here in the world who have done that. But a lot of people are caught up in the groups that are not just going that are not going to help them out. Not saying those groups are totally bad, because they got a purpose, and that's in the world of hard knocks. You're not going to know what's right unless you know what's wrong. The only people I've ever come across that have a hard time accepting what I have to say are those who make their living from those things. They may have a website they charge something for, they might have a church they get their donations for, whatever the case may be. Those people have the hardest time. They don't want to believe it because they don't want to give up their livelihood. And that's the most popular excuse. But I don't have nothing against helping somebody who has learned to save themselves. If I knew that they had a business doing that and I had any need for a business like that, I might actually spend the extra money to go to them and have that work done or that service done than I would somebody else. Just because I'm going to get a better quality work. That's just like the quality of people that you would be around. You know, if you're just simply out in the world and the quality of people is going to be at a minimum, where if you're in the right group, the quality of people is going to be quite high. And just depending on your viewpoint, you know. So prophets come out to help with the salvation that God has planned. And the major characters, all the real major characters, have already been placed on the board throughout history, leading up to this point in time. And, you know, when I'm thinking of the end times, I'm like going, well, you know, I don't know. I've spent that whole humming over that business for quite a long time, but I've been looking at it and I'm like, yeah, okay, this is the end times. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's it. It's here. The final play hasn't come about yet. It could be in progress. I mean, from the things that I've been, read, that it's pretty close. I mean, a lot of those things have taken place. Who the last players are on the board, I won't know. I get it. It's coming. Am I going to be ready when Christ comes? I don't know. But if you're a Christian and you ever heard that Christ could be coming back and you get that fear in you, then you're not ready. That's just all there is to it. You're not ready. because God's not about the punishment system. God really wholeheartedly wants people to change who they are for whatever reason they're doing stuff, and just go to Him and do it.